All right, welcome back to another episode of the McKinney Podcast, where we celebrate what makes us unique by nature. Fred, you ready to go?
Let's go.
Man, we're just going to jump right in because this lady needs no introduction. She's been around McKinney for quite a while, and a lot of you may already know her. Let's give her the introduction that she deserves, shall we?
Official.
Okay. Dana K. Riley is the Donor Relations Manager for the Samaritan Inn. Her ability to connect with people makes her the perfect person to raise funds for the largest nonprofit homeless program in North Texas. She conducts tours of the facility and travels all over Collin County, spreading the good word of the Samaritan Inn. Her career has spanned more than 30 years, and she has always worked in a nonprofit or government setting. She's known for her ability to tell a great story, just like we're doing right here today, and enjoys meeting new people and seeing things from other perspectives. She has a passion for service, and it is obvious to all who meet her. I met her for the first time last week at State of the City, and it was immediately apparent. She's been married for 40 years to her child, high school sweetheart, and they have a married daughter, married son, and one grandson. She enjoys gardening, cooking, reading, crafts, and traveling. Please welcome Miss Dana Riley to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Oh, man. The moment that I saw your name come through on the on the sign up form, move that microphone a little bit closer, would you? Just down a little bit. There you go. Perfect. Right there. The moment that I saw your name come through, my first thought was, "Ooh, this is going to be interesting." The Samaritan Inn does great work, but I'm familiar with the Samaritan Inn, at least to some degree. I'm not familiar with Dana Riley.
Okay.
I don't know where I've been living under a rock from because you and Fred go way back. You've been around McKinney for a long time. Catch us up. How in the world did you find yourself in McKinney doing nonprofit work? Go as far back as you want. You've had a long, distinguished career. Catch us up. What's your story to this point?
Well, I think my story starts in childhood. My dad was a corporate executive, but he always had service to the community at the forefront. And so as I grew older, I saw him coaching ball with my brothers, umpiring, refereeing, and every year he was Santa for a local church. And one year when I was 6, we always went to this church every Christmas, and I didn't really understand why it wasn't our church. And so one year we're sitting in the pews with my whole family, except for my dad. He was busy that night. And Santa comes in, and he's reaching down the aisle, shaking hands. And I noticed Santa didn't have any gloves on, and I recognized my father's hands. And so on the way home, I asked my mom, and she said, "Don't tell your little sisters that was your dad."
Uh-oh.
And so that's sort of in my mind growing up was, what can you do for your community? What can you do to serve others? And so I chose that as a career, which has really served me well.
I guess so.
Man. What a great story.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You recognized your dad's hands.
Yes,
I love that.
Yes, I did.
So at this point, you knew that Santa was not
I did, and I had to keep that secret for a long time.
So now, how much younger were your sisters?
They were only 20 months younger than me.
Okay, so you're all
I
kind of
had
in the
to
same
play
ballpark.
along
Sure.
for years until until
Now,
that moment.
Have you ever confessed to your sisters that you knew?
Yes, they've heard the story. They certainly have, yeah. And then, when you start thinking about your career path, I always wanted a job where I could serve others. And
So tell us about that. So where did you go to high school?
I went to high school in Greenville, Texas. Met my now husband.
Borough.
He sat in front of me in biology class. I thought he was really cute from behind. And so we started dating in high school, our sophomore year.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that? Now, I don't know much about Greenville except that I passed through there on the way to out of state. And cut past the square and all the other things there. But, so Greenville, did they have a lot of service clubs and organizations in high school?
In high school, I was the president of the FHA Hero Club, which was a service organization for students in future homemakers of America,
Yes.
which they don't even have anymore.
That doesn't
I don't
exist
think.
anymore.
No.
Okay.
I learned a lot in home economics, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I took home ec.
Yeah. And then I was served in the student council and was head of the projects committee for the community. So we always did the toy drives and the canned food drives and all of that. So, I learned some of those skills early and learned from upperclassmen on how to do those kinds of things. And that went on through college. I always volunteered. And
So where'd you go to college?
I went to the Dallas County Community Colleges.
Okay.
Which is now called Dallas College, I think. Everybody's changing their name to be more
right.
continental, I guess. And then when I realized I wanted to have a career, then it was going to be in service. So I served for 13 years with the city of Garland in their police department. I traveled across the country teaching police officers how to work with community groups. That was a lot of fun. I met lots of wonderful police officers from all over the country. And they got a kick out of me because of my accent. Evidently, I have a Texas accent. So that was a lot of fun. I served at the Volunteer Center of North Texas, which is now Volunteer Now. I did some time with the Dallas County Juvenile Department. So you'll see that throughout my career, every job I've accepted has been sort of in a helping role. And then I came to volunteer McKinney and served here for 6 years. That was my first understanding of what a unique place McKinney is. I mean, we say it all the time and people are like, yeah, whatever. But it really is. If you've traveled across the country, if you've lived in other cities, there's something different about this.
Yeah.
And it's so different that my daughter and her family are moving here from Houston. So
Really?
I'm excited. There'll be new McKinney residents next month.
And you get to be that much closer to your grandbaby.
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
I'm going to be all up in his business.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
that's I got to experience firsthand the joy that grandparents have being around their grandkids. My father-in-law retired from Baylor University. He's one of the assistant vice presidents there, and they moved from Waco to McKinney solely to be around the grandkids.
Yes.
They allegedly were doing it to be around their son and daughter, but let's be real, they're doing it for the grandkids.
That's right.
And they've been super involved. And so I imagine you are waiting with great anticipation to have your daughter and her family up here.
Absolutely. We're counting the days at this point.
Man. Okay, so you worked in Volunteer McKinney for a
Yes.
number of years.
Yes.
And we're getting to the point that Samaritan Inn starts to come into the picture. At what point did you have them on your radar as, something you may want to be involved in for part of your career?
From the very beginning of coming to Volunteer McKinney, I worked directly with Samaritan Inn on lots of projects and offering information and spreading the news about Samaritan Inn, as was my role in Volunteer McKinney to spread the news about all the nonprofits here. And so I did some projects with them, and always they participated in Make a Difference Day every year. So I was certainly very familiar. But after I left Volunteer McKinney, I went to work for the city of McKinney in the Housing and Community Development Department and did that for 5 years. Again, it brought Samaritan Inn to the forefront because a lot of the work that we did in that department had to do with housing and Samaritan Inn. I mean, it was just sort of the pinnacle. And when I decided to change jobs, I contacted Samaritan Inn and said, I really would like to work for you. And luckily, they took me up on my offer.
And your role as donor relations manager is your title?
Yes.
And so you're basically just the biggest cheerleader for Samaritan Inn and raising awareness and advocating for people to get involved and volunteer in whatever capacity they can.
Yes.
Raising funds for just the general budget of Samaritan Inn as well as special projects and whatnot. What's a day in the life look like for you other than talking to two knuckleheads in a podcast studio?
Well, I love to do podcasts and I love to talk. And one of my favorite subjects is the Samaritan Inn we've been around for 40 years, but there's so many people that really don't understand what we do. We are not a shelter per se. You can't bring a homeless person to us and we can give them a bed because our space is limited. We have intake days, and whether somebody gets into our program is based on whether we have a bed for them or not. So I just love spreading information, talking to people about it. A lot of people don't understand what homelessness is. They have a lot of wrong ideas about who a homeless person is and how they got there. We see more and more families, and things happen in people's lives. And some of us have family and friends that we can lean on in those troubled times, and then other people don't. Mm-hmm. So we kind of step in as that shoulder and that person to support them and help them kind of see a way out of the situation that they're in.
Now, does Collin County or McKinney have an actual homeless shelter?
We don't per se. We do not have an emergency homeless shelter, which is what most people think of when they think of a shelter. We don't have a location where anybody can just go. We certainly have agencies that provide assistance, that provide funding, that provide mental health and other services like we do. But we are unique in this North Texas area for the way our program works.
Well, let's hear about the way your program works, because you said we're not a shelter. So I'd love to hear about just the basic programming of Samaritan Inn. And for me personally, I'm always thinking of solutions. And this is not like a Southern California thing with people that are voluntarily chronically homeless,
right,
where they choose to live a nomadic lifestyle.
Right.
Well, they're not traditionally housed. These are more emergent, acute situations where people have fallen on hard times, maybe made bad decisions. There may be substance abuse somewhere in their story. There's any number of ways people become unhoused. I'd love to hear the basic programming, and secondarily, maybe more importantly, what are you doing to help these guests get back on their feet and get out of homelessness where they don't need to be in a shelter or a Samaritan Inn anywhere?
Right. Okay. So our program starts with the drug and alcohol screen. We are not equipped to assist people who are actively involved in addictions. And so they have to pass drug and alcohol screen, and then they have to have a government-issued ID. We have to know who they are. And then we have a deep dive into their story. A lot of our current residents had something happen. Maybe they were working and doing okay and had an injury and lost their job, didn't have insurance. Those kinds of things kind of compound over time, and they wind up being evicted from their housing. Others have, catastrophic things like a divorce or some other kind of thing that just kind of slaps you in the face, and you were like, oh no. Because of the rising cost of housing, the rising cost of food, and just the cost to live every day here in Collin County, but really across the nation, it's difficult. And those kinds of situations that happen to people, they don't catch a break. They don't get a chance to sort of reset, which is exactly what we do. We offer them an opportunity to come in. They have housing, 3 meals a day. We provide clothing if they need it. And our program is very rigorous, so they must have a job. Or if they don't have a job, then there's a time limit on how quick they can find a job. Our residents sign a contract that says they will attend a case management meeting once a week. And a case manager is like your life coach. They're going to help kind of keep you on the right track. We have mandatory mental health counseling. We have amazing staff of counselors. And so our residents must attend mental health counseling one-on-one with a counselor every week. they must attend job readiness or job skills classes. Many of our residents have a job, but they're never going to be able to make ends meet on the salary that they're making. And so we have an amazing woman. She has a PhD, and she works individually with them to figure out what the next steps would be. And we've had so much success with that. We also have mandatory financial education classes. Many people today don't know the basics of finance, of credit, of saving. Our culture is that's shiny and new. I have to have that. I'm going to order it right now. And so we try to teach them that it's best to sort of delay that gratification and save your money so that you can then be in a better place tomorrow than you would be if you spent that money today. So our program is really a wraparound program, but it's not easy. If you're a parent in our program and 1/3 of our residents are children, then you also have to attend parenting classes. So we give everybody the tools that they need, but it is not easy. It's tough. But those that graduate our program and our families are staying closer to a year with us because it takes that long to save their money, to pay off some debts. Many people have been evicted, so they've got to deal with that.
Yep.
And then the singles, single men and single women stay 6 months, 9 months. But it's individualized, and there's no date on the calendar where we kick you out. As long as you're making forward progress in your journey, then we just support them in that.
So you mentioned case manager. There were several like coaches and therapists type things that you meet in there, and you say that there's also an employment requirement. When do they meet with these people? Because that's a lot of time.
It is a lot of time, and they're working 40 hours a week. So they're meeting with them after work or on the weekend sometimes. It's a very rigorous schedule. On top of that, they have chores just like we do at home because they're living communally. We work together to take care of our common areas, and we don't have a janitor. It's just like at home. Nobody's going to pick that towel up off the floor. Yes. You got to pick it up.
That's right.
Where is the facility located? I've never even seen it before. So maybe I drove past it, didn't even know it.
Yep.
In 2019, we moved into a beautiful facility that's located at 1514 North McDonald. It's very near the intersection of 380 and Highway 5 or McDonald.
Gotcha.
Okay. Set back in the trees, we have a property of 15 acres, thanks to a generous donation of those 15 acres by a local farming family. And so we have a pavilion that provides a dining hall that's open 365 days a year. They provide amazing meals to our residents. And if you're going to be off property during a mealtime, we have a sack lunch ready for you, provided by volunteers that come in every week to make sure. We call them the Bag Lunch Brigade, or BLB for short.
Fun.
There you go.
And then we have 3 libraries. We have an adult library, a children's library, and a teen library. And we have a lovely retired lady who loves on those libraries and keeps them looking great and provides information for our residents so that they can make those changes in their lives through education. And then we have counseling facilities. We have a resident building, 3 floors. Our maximum occupancy is 226. But because we have families in a room by themselves, sometimes there's an empty bed, depending on the size of that family. So at the moment, we're at around 180. And as a bed empties or as a room empties, if it's a family, then we immediately get someone else in there. So we're constantly moving. People are graduating and leaving our program. One of the other great things we have across the street is the Gateway Apartments that we own. And so if you've had success in our program and graduated our program, then you can apply to live there. And the rent there is about half fair market rate. So you can continue to save. You can continue to get services from our counselors, from our case managers. And it gives you 18 months more of rental history, of just feeling really stable. And the community provides all the furnishings for those apartments. So when you move in, it's just like on TV. You know, it's an HGTV moment where they come into this room that's beautifully appointed by a group of volunteers, a group of community members, church members, corporate groups. And then when they leave, they take that with them. Everything that we give our residents, it becomes theirs.
Okay. So now, how do you obviously to run the Samaritan Inn and staff it? You know, how do you bring in support for the Samaritan Inn?
Well, I am banging my drum all over Collin County to try to inform people. And I'm always available to come out and speak to one-on-one, to groups of hundreds. I think because we've been around for 40 years, sometimes people take us for granted and forget about the important work that's being done there. And so it's just trying to keep people informed and aware of what we're doing, and that we're still working hard, and that we're still seeing record numbers of people coming, trying to get in, and that we definitely still have a housing crisis here in this part of the country. We do not have enough affordable housing here. Not everybody is a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. We have people who work in the service industries that need affordable housing. And the average rent in Collin County is $1,500 a month.
And that's for a very, very small.
That's a little one bedroom,
That's right.
or what we used to call a studio.
That's right.
With no door on the bedroom,
That's right. It's like
so
your bed is over there and your kitchen is at your feet.
That's right. And so that's difficult. You know, we talk to corporations in McKinney, and they tell us that they have employees that are driving here every day from Oklahoma because there's just no affordable housing here. So it's a real problem.
And then, so I know it's been several years. Do you still do the Samaritan Inn Gala?
We do the gala every 5 years. So we just
years.
Celebrated 40 years this year. But every year that we don't do the gala, we do In Bloom, which is a luncheon, and that's coming up in April.
Okay, so give us the details on that.
So I can't tell you who the speaker is, but she's amazing, and you'll love her. She's a well-known local person, and the event is April the 4th, and it'll be in Collin County. I believe it's in Frisco this year. We'd love to have an event here in McKinney, but we don't have hotels big enough, and so until we do, we have to look a little further afield to find a facility that'll hold our events. But it'll be a chance for us to celebrate what we do, and also to just bring awareness. And we'll be soliciting support and sponsorship for that event very near future. So
okay, all right. So we need to definitely stay on top of that. So what is your greatest reward from being there at the Samaritan Inn?
Well,
and greatest challenge. Greatest challenge.
Well, the work is hard, and I couldn't be a case manager or a mental health professional. I just couldn't do it. I think it's very difficult to be on the front lines of people at their very lowest point. But one of the great things about being part of the Samaritan Inn team is that we really are a family. And I need a job where I feel like I've got my peeps around me, you know? And we really are a very tight-knit, close group of folks. We have 60 employees, and then we have around 10 interns at any given moment. So we're pretty tight. We try to have fun. We try to support each other. But, the bottom line is the work is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but what's your greatest reward from doing this?
I think the sense of every day feeling like I helped somebody,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's bringing in a big donor, which helps all of us and certainly helps our clients, but also just being the person who sort of opened somebody's eyes. I like that role. So I'd say that's a daily success that I strive for, is to try to inform somebody new every day about what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We have new people moving into McKinney every day, and they've never heard of us. And we've been around for 40 years. So I'm going to try to fix that.
Yeah. It's because you're just past the DPS office, right? Yeah.
Yes.
It's like I remember one day driving out of town, and I looked over, I was like, oh, there it is.
Yes.
Just off in the middle of all the trees.
It sits down in the trees. It's a lovely setting. And one of my favorite things to do is give a tour. So just, give me a holler, and I'll set up a tour and show you around.
One of the most important things this podcast exists for, Dana, is to drive awareness and make sure that the good people of McKinney know about the things that are happening in their city. And one of those components is to drive volunteer hours. I know so many people, students, adults, professionals, they're looking for good opportunities for volunteer hours. What sort of work do you all need assistance with if a group, if an organization, if a student, if a family is looking for volunteer hours? What sort of work can they partner with the Samaritan Inn on?
So we have opportunities for families to come in and volunteer together periodically throughout the year. So those are family volunteer days. You don't have to make a commitment. You sign up, you come that day and fulfill an opportunity. We also have a teen service group that we just started. So we have a group of teens who are wanting to learn more about volunteerism and also be accessible to us for projects. They're going to be helping me with some decorations for the Christmas parade that we'll be in soon this year.
Yep, on December 14th.
Yes, look for us. We'll be in a train.
There you go.
It's going to be really cool. And one of the things that we love about being in the Rotary Christmas Parade, I have to tell you, last year was our first year ever to be in the parade. And when you're working day to day, especially our frontline staff, they don't always get that feeling of appreciation because the work they're doing is hard. And the message sometimes that they're delivering is difficult.
Yeah.
And so when you're in the parade, people are yelling, "Samaritan Inn, we love you. Thank you for what you do." So all of us that were on the float last year, we were a puddle of tears by the time the parade was over because you physically could feel those accolades and appreciation from our community, and that was really special. So we have volunteers every week, over 200 who commit to doing a specific job. It can be working our front desk in the reception area. It can be helping with our job readiness programs, doing mock interviews, looking at people's resumes, helping them with those. We have volunteers from the food service industry who volunteer in our kitchen. And we have 4 chefs who do an amazing job, but there's no way they can do all that work in the kitchen without help from volunteers. And then we have residents who also help. So it just depends on your skill set and what you're interested in. We have volunteers who come and play with the kiddos in our child care area. So it just depends on what you're interested in. We can find a place for you. And then certainly we participate in Make a Difference Day. We had a wonderful experience just recently with that. So if you just go to our website, samn.org, and click on volunteers, all the information is there, and you can start by looking at what we currently need.
Okay, excellent. So samn.org.
Yes.
Not .com.
SAMINN.org.
2
Yep.
N's, INN, right?
Yes.
SamInn.org. Yes. Okay. Because I'm sure that some people are going to jump out there and like, that's not it. That's not it. So Sam,
2 N's.
INN. That's right. Excellent. And then is there a phone number that people can call for more information? Or would you prefer them just go to the website?
I think the website is a great place to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So in many ways, it seems to me kind of brought this full circle that, your dad taking on the role of Santa Claus and bringing those gifts, and really, we all know who Santa is, but we don't know Santa.
Right.
So that's kind of like been your modus operandi.
It
ever
is,
since.
and I think for parents everywhere, you have to understand that it's not what you tell your children, it's what you show your children.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad definitely showed us service.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was ingrained in me. So remember, parents out there, you've got to show them in your actions rather than say, you really should volunteer.
Well, you know what they say when it comes to kids learning behaviors, those things are caught, not taught.
Yes.
They catch them when they see mom and dad doing them.
That is absolutely
or mom
true.
or dad for single parent families out there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of ways that you can give back. It doesn't always mean financially.
Yeah.
You can be there, be a resource for your neighbors. You can be a resource for people at church or in your school. So there are plenty of ways to help.
Fantastic. Yeah. Any lightning round questions, Fred?
Well, I was...
Or you have something else before that?
There was just one other thing. So, for someone to come to the point that they realize that, that they are in extreme financial jeopardy, or they're facing some serious conditions here. I'm thankful that there is a counseling aspect to help people emotionally, mentally walk through this. But for the person who realizes that they're on the brink, or for the people who are tuning in this podcast, because we all know somebody.
Sure.
We all know somebody. How do and obviously you said space is limited, but there is an intake point. So for someone who is potentially looking at a very stark situation for them, are there any insight that you can give right now that might help them to avert having a complete financial crash?
Right.
And if they are on that brink, can you encourage them, or encourage someone who knows someone that this is not something to be ashamed of? This does not put the label of bad over you.
Right.
So how would you speak to that?
Well, there are several things, and this year we just started a program called Diversion. Mm-hmm. And so for those people that aren't homeless yet, but things are looking tough, then they can seek assistance with us. And we have a case manager who helps them sort of avoid losing their home or losing their apartment. And that is through some funding through local government. And we just really think that's a very positive step toward helping people just kind of pause and think, I don't want to be homeless. Mm-hmm. Let's see what we can do to sort of nip this in the bud and get the train going in a different direction. If you do encounter someone who's homeless, they can contact us, and if you go on the website, you'll see exactly what the requirements are to become a part of our program, exactly the day and time that we do intakes, mm-hmm. and the documentation that you would need to bring in order to participate in that intake. We don't have a waiting list. You can't do it online. You must present yourself on those intake days, meet with a case manager. It could be that you're not a good fit for our program for mm-hmm. whatever reason, but we provide you with resources, other places that could help mm-hmm. you. So we're never going to turn anybody away. If you're hungry, we're going to feed you. If you don't have appropriate clothing for the season, we're going to give you new clothes. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to give you resources and help you connect with an agency that will be able to help you. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Actually brings up one last point, and then we get the lightning round. So with the clothing thing, do you actively take clothing donations, or is there, do you work with another organization?
So we have a needs list online for items that we currently need and are seeking. And everyone who is at our shelter or in our program, they receive new items. Mm-hmm. So if you want to donate used items, we encourage you to donate those to the InStyle Resale Store, which is right at 380 near McDonald. Mm-hmm. And every dollar that store earns goes right back to the Samaritan Inn. Mm-hmm. And
you purchase new clothing.
Yes.
Okay.
So we ask donors to give us new clothing.
Okay.
Kids' clothes. We also have items that we need all the time, like diapers. And right now we have a big need for bottled water because it seems like it's been hot for a long time.
Yeah, not now, though. It's
no,
cool
it's
now.
cool now.
But now we need coats
right.
and socks and things.
So we also have an Amazon wish list.
Okay.
So you can just click it, and it comes directly to us. So we would like you to contact us if you have something specific in mind so that we can make sure that it's a need that we currently have. One of the amazing things about our program being 40 years old is that we have amazing supporters who donate new items all the time. And those items that we cannot use, we then share with about 30 other nonprofits in the region.
Wow.
So nothing gets tossed out or set aside. We find a home for everything, including food, because we have tremendous support from local grocery stores, from Costco, Sam's, H-E-B has come on board and just done some wonderful things for us. So we just share it.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. I love that. And I love that, you just boldly name dropped out there that, these organizations or these companies believe in us and,
And there's lots more.
Sure. I'm sure. Absolutely. But, those are like, the big names and the fact that, that they're supporting the Samaritan Inn, I think that speaks volumes. Okay. So thank you so much for coming on. We have a lightning round that we like to do. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just, this is just, what does Dana think? Okay. So since we're in this season of, we just finished up Halloween and Thanksgiving around the corner and Christmas, all those things, apple pie or pumpkin pie?
Apple pie.
Apple pie. Okay.
But I'll eat a pumpkin pie.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
I always take I need one of each. I don't want to offend anyone. I ride the fence. Okay, so with your pie, Cool Whip or no whip?
No whip.
No whip.
And no ice cream either.
No.
Really?
No.
The pie stands on its own merit.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So green bean casserole or dressing?
Can I have both?
Which one's your favorite? If you're only going to eat one, if you only got room in your plate for one, which one's it going to be?
It's probably going to be green bean casserole because if I'm going to have dressing, I got to have gravy with it.
Yeah. Well, let's say the gravy comes with the dressing. Which would you pick then?
Ooh. I would probably eat some green bean casserole off my husband's plate.
There you go. That's a pro.
Seeking options.
Yeah.
She's been married for almost 40 years. She knows how the game is played.
That's right. Okay.
Yep.
Black jelly beans or fruitcake?
Black jelly beans.
Black jelly beans are licorice.
Yes.
Not a fan.
Not a fan.
I actually like fruitcake. There's a company in Greenville. I grew up my teen years in Greenville called Mary of Puddin Hill. It was a staple in Greenville. They shipped fruitcake all over the world, and I worked there as a teenager in the
Here we go.
Christmas season. Yeah. So I actually like fruitcake when it's done properly.
So turkey, ham, or lasagna? Because I know some folks do non-traditional Christmas dinner. Is it turkey? Is it ham? Or is it something else?
Ham.
Ham, the Christmas
I'm a ham
ham
girl. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A good honey baked ham.
Dang it, Fred. Now I'm hungry. And we still have another interview between us and lunch. What do you think of all these food-based questions,
Because we're in the food season.
There
we
you
are
go.
in the food season.
There you go.
Season.
All right, final question. I got some music here
That's
for
right.
us.
This is the brain one.
Okay.
Who would win in a fight between a polar bear and a great white shark that takes place in a swimming pool that's only 6 feet deep, but it's of infinite size. There are no edges to this pool. It goes on forever. Who wins, polar bear or great white shark?
Polar bear.
Yeah?
Oh.
What's your take on that? How's the polar bear win?
Because when they're not mad, they're so adorable. They're so cute.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's ever been a time that I thought a shark was cute. Now, I grew up with Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
Jaws scared me to my core.
Yep.
So, yeah, not a fan of oceans or the stuff that is in it.
So she picks
So team
the
polar bear because they're cute.
That's right.
That's a new answer. We haven't heard the
They're
cute.
so cute.
I'm telling you, we haven't heard the cute angle before. And man, we're out of questions.
I know.
Dana Riley, Samaritan Inn, thank you so much for your time today.
You're
Folks,
welcome.
We are putting the information in the show notes of this episode. If you're watching on YouTube, check the description below for the website and the social channels and see how you can connect with Samaritan Inn for volunteerism, for donations, for monetary support. The Samaritan Inn welcomes all of the above. Dana, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate what you guys are doing, spreading the word.
There you go. Spreading that good word. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this episode of the McKinney Podcast. Make it a great day. We'll talk to you again real soon. Y'all take care.